Hello friends, welcome to the session on Python programming. In this session, we'll be discussing about the database connection in the Python program. In this session, we will see that how it is possible to connect to a database by using the Python program and what are the steps that are being involved in such a database connection and what are the different commands that can be used for the database connection. Friends, as you know that you are viewing this session on my YouTube channel, and you can subscribe to the channel so that you can watch many other educational videos on the various topics of the subjects of electronics and computer science. So let us start the session with the question how it is possible to connect to a database in the Python program. Friends, you will find that whenever we go for writing programs for any real-life application, then there is always a large data involved. And whenever we want to deal with the large data, then it is necessary to form the database. And we need to process the database by using writing program in the Python. So if you want to connect to a database by using Python, then the Windows users, you need to identify what kind of operating system platform that you are using. If you are using Windows, then you may be needed to use the older version of the MySQL for Python. So you can Google for MySQL for Python for the specific operating system that you are using on your computer system. And then you can search for the proper MySQL for Python, and then you need to download it. Normally, this application is free, and therefore you can easily download it on your computer system. Once you download it, then you need to identify what kind of Python is being supported by the MySQL version. So many times the older versions of the Python are supported. So the appropriate version of the Python need to be used whenever you want to establish the database connection. So once you install the MySQL Python, then you will find that on the Python prompt, you need to type this command, import MySQL DB. If this command is successfully executed, it means that the MySQL Python has been installed on your computer system. Also, before going for the database connection, one has to see that MySQL is being properly installed on your computer system, and you need to create an appropriate database by using the MySQL. So connection of the database in Python is very simple. So for example, if you are making a phone call, then what one has to do is that one pick up the handset, will dial a number, will talk and listen, and then hangs up. So this is a very simple activity while making the phone call. Similarly, while making a database connection through MySQL for Python, it is nearly as simple as making a phone call. One can find that there are 4 stages of database communication in Python. The first one is you have to create a connection object. The second one is that you have to create a cursor object. The third one is you have to interact with the database. And the fourth one is you have to close the connection. So whenever you want to create a connection object, then for that you need to use a connect function to create an object for the program's connection to the database. This process automates logging into the database and selecting a database to be used. The syntax for calling the connect function and assigning the results to the variable is to be written like this. Variable is equal to MySQL DB.connect. In the bracket, we will write host name comma username, comma password, comma database name. Say for example, we can write like this: variable is equal to, you can make the use of any variable, MySQL db.connect, host is equal to host name, comma user is equal to username, password is equal to password, comma db is equal to database name. So before making such connection, as I told you, the concerned database to which you want to connect must be ready with you. And you should have some host name, you should have some username assigned, you should have ready with you some password for the connection and certain database name. Suppose I have created by using MySQL database, one database called as a new schema. And suppose my host is localhost and the user is PBK and the password is DSMP. And therefore I can use the variable mydb is equal to MySQL db.connect, host is equal to localhost, comma user is equal to PBK, password is equal to DSMP, db is equal to new schema. So this is the name of the database. So if you type this command and if it is executed without an error, it means that the connection is established. But if you find certain problem or error in the execution of this command, then of course you need to take some online help to resolve the problem that is being occurred in the connection. The second step is creating a cursor object. Once the connection object is being created, you simply by creating a connection object, you cannot interact with the database until you create a cursor object. So whenever you want to interact with the database, it is necessary for you to create a cursor object. To create the cursor, we can make the use of the cursor function or cursor method of the MySQL db.connection object we created for the connection. So the syntax for creating a cursor object is like this: cursor name can be any valid variable name, which is equal to connection object name dot cursor. So for example, we can write cursor is equal to mydb.cursor. So if you type this command on the Python prompt and if it is executed successfully without error, it means that the cursor object is being created. You can check the cursor object. If I type print cursor, then you will get the cursor object location. If you type print mydb, that is the connection object, then the connection object localhost with the address is also displayed. Now in the third step, we can interact with the database. Now you have got connected and you have created a cursor object. So in order to interact with the database, you need to make the use of the function called as an execute function. There are other ways also through which you can communicate with the database, but this is the most popular one. So the syntax for this cursor function is like this: cursor.execute. In the bracket, we can make the use of query, comma, args arguments is equal to none. So query, this should be a string type query. Arguments, by default, the arguments are none. This is because sometimes we can pass only a query like a select query, which fetches the records and does not require any values. But if you want to pass the values in the case such as insert query, then the type of the argument can be a tuple, list, or dictionary only. So in Python, you can make the use of arguments, either a tuple or a list or a dictionary. But if there are no arguments used, then in that case, you can pass arguments is equal to none. And this function will return us the count of the number of rows that are affected during the query. So for example, if I type on the Python prompt cursor.execute bracket select star from marks, where marks is my table in the database new schema, and I'm selecting all the rows from the table marks. So I will get the message 5L. It means that 5 rows are affected. L that is being used to specify the integer value. Now I can make the use of a loop for row in cursor colon print row. So I will find that all the 5 rows in my table marks will be printed on the screen. First is the identity, second is the string name, and the third one is the marks. So 1 TBK 78, 2 TYU 98. In this way, all the 5 rows will be displayed on the screen. So the final step is closing the connection. So in MySQL, you are expected to close the database and end the session by issuing either quit or exit. So whenever you are using MySQL, then you can close it by making the use of quit or exit. In Python, we can close it by using the close function or close method of the database object. So you can type on the Python prompt cursor.close and then mydb.close. So both the commands will be executed and your connection will get closed. Thank you, friends, for viewing the session. Hopefully you understood what are the steps involved in making a database connection in the Python program. Thank you all for viewing the session.